Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first meeting of the Senate of Commerce and Labor for the 83rd Legislative Session. May the Secretary please call roll.
Senator Daley.
Here.
Senator Ellison. Present. Senator Flores.
Present.
Senator Lang. Senator Rogish. Senator Scheibel. Senator Steinbeck. Chair Pazina.
Present. Thank you so much. It looks like we absolutely have a quorum, and welcome to the committee, everyone. It's so great to see everyone, and it's so great to see everyone out there. Welcome to our members of the audience here in Carson, in Las Vegas, and those that are meeting with us online. Today, we'll have introductions, adoption of committee rules, and presentations from staff, as well as the Department of Business and Industry, who we welcome today. But before we begin, we're going to do some housekeeping items. First, I'd like to remind everyone to please silence all of your electronic devices while in the committee room. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, all of which are listed on the agenda. Today, we'll have public comment period towards the end of the meeting. If you wish to testify in person, please sign in at the table by the door and leave a business card with our committee secretaries. When testifying in person, please turn on the microphone turn it on to speak and off to listen, as we'll have others listening in and viewing the meeting in Vegas and online. Please also state and spell your name for the record. Anyone who'd like to receive electronic notifications of scheduled bills and access to the committee's meeting materials can do so by signing up on Nellis on the legislative website. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other exhibits. Please don't view this as a sign of disrespect or us not paying attention. To ensure an orderly flow of discussion, all comments, questions, and responses should go through me, and committee members will be recognized before speaking, and I am very excited for the committee we have before us, and this was one of my favorite committees last session, and I'm happy to see so many returning members and some amazing new members. And with that, we're going to move on and introduce the members of the committee. I'd like to ask each member to introduce themselves. We'll also have staff introduce themselves. Please provide some background about yourself, include the district you represent, and what your interest is maybe in commerce and labor. And we're going to start with our Vice Chair, Senator Daley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to be here and fulfill my support role. Anyway, my name is Skip Daley, representing Senate District 13. It's my second session in the Senate, sixth session overall. I served 4 terms in the Assembly. And Commerce and Labor is the only committee I've served on all 6 of the sessions that I've been on. Looking forward to having a successful session this time. We have a lot of stuff to do looking at the bills that are coming through. And I'll have lots of questions. You guys know that already. And as I tease my other chair, who's over here to my left, he always tells me that the running joke is follow up chair. That'll be me. So anyway, appreciate it. Welcome to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to ask Assistant Majority Leader Lang to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Senator Lang. I represent Senate District 7 in Las Vegas. Senate District 7 is by UNLV, going all the way east in the city. This is my third session on Commerce and Labor last year, and last year I served as the Vice Chair. So I'm excited to continue the work.
Thank you so much, and we will have Senator Scheibel introduce herself.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Melanie Scheibel. I'm the Senator for District 9 in Las Vegas. It covers the Spring Valley area. I'm very happy to be back on Commerce and Labor again. This is my 4th session in the Senate, and this is my 3rd session on Commerce and Labor. And I serve as Chair of Judiciary, and serving on Judiciary and Commerce and Labor actually complement each other very nicely. I've learned so much serving on this committee that has been helpful in all of my other committees, because we have such a wide range of topics through all the different boards and commissions that we oversee here in Commerce and Labor, and all the different industries that come before us. So I'm excited to continue learning more again this session, and I know that we have a great team. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator, and I'd like to pass it over to Senator Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize, I'm a little under the weather here. I've had the privilege of serving with Madam Chair last session in natural resources, so it's an honor to have her as the chair now in this amazing committee. I represent Senate District 2, that's Northeast Las Vegas. I previously served on the Commerce and Labor Committee in the Assembly. This is the first time I have the privilege of serving in the Senate. This is my second session, wrapping up my first term in the Senate. I own 2 small businesses. I'm an attorney by trade, and I am just honored to be able to serve alongside of all of you and work with everybody in the room. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Flores, and we're going to pass it over to Senator Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm excited to be here. When I was in the Assembly, I did serve on Government Affairs and Commerce and Labor, and that was important to me because it's in contact with what we do in the rural areas of the cities and the counties and stuff like this. So everything that comes to this committee is so important. I asked it to be taken off several years ago because on Fridays I have such a long drive to get back to work, and then Sunday night I get back, so I get home about 1 in the morning and turn around and leave and get back on Sunday at 1 in the morning. So it made it rough when it was long meetings. But I was a city councilman, a county commissioner. I spent 12 years as a state assemblyman. So I look forward to this session. I'm excited to be a senator here. So, Madam Chair, it was a good meeting with you in your office, and I look forward to going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Ellison. And right next to you, Senator Rogich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Laurie Rogish, and I am a newly elected state senator for District 11, which is in Las Vegas, the southwest portion of the valley. I am also a regulatory compliance lawyer. I have my own law firm, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Senator Steinbeck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John Steinbeck, this is my first session. I'm newly elected state senator from District 18. And so that's the northwest part of Las Vegas. I just recently retired as the fire chief of Clark County Fire Department after almost 35 years. I'm very excited to serve on this board, and on this committee, and also to serve as a new senator. And I'm really interested in the topics that we cover on this. So looking forward to your guidance and to serving.
Thank you so much. And my name is Julie Pizzina, and I serve in Senate District 12, which covers about half of Henderson, West Henderson, Green Valley Ranch, Seven Hills, as well as Las Vegas, the Silverado Ranch area. And I am thrilled to be serving on Commerce and Labor again, and incredibly honored to be serving with such an amazing group of senators and staff. And you'll hear from the staff very shortly. My day job is for an IBEW electrical contractor. We produce trade shows, conventions, and special events. And I've been in the business world for about 20 plus years now, although I won't age myself further than that. And I chair our tourism caucus here in the Senate and the Assembly. So I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be here today. And with that, I am going to hand it over to the staff. And we'll start with our very, very hardworking committee manager, Terry Miller.
Thank you. My name is Terry Miller. This is my 11th session in the Senate, 4th as the committee manager for Commerce and Labor. I really love my job, and I'm glad to be here, and I hope everybody has a great session. Oops, sorry.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for all of the hard work you've done helping us prepare for the session. And we're going to move very close to you right now with one of our committee secretaries, our lead committee secretary, who came back to us this session. We're thrilled to have her back, Ms. Lynn Hendricks.
My name is Lynn Hendricks. This is my 12th session. Some people never learn.
True, huh? And we're going to head right next to you, and Ms. Madison Zajac, we'll see if you learn from your lead committee secretary.
Hi, my name is Madison Zajac, and this is my first session as a committee secretary, so I'm very excited to serve you all and learn from you guys.
Thank you so much. And some of you might remember my legislative assistant from last session, who is always hardworking and keeps me on time and on schedule, Cameron McClemens. Come on up.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Cameron McClymans. I'm the legislative assistant for Senator Pizzina. This is my second session here in Nevada. Last session, I was her LA as well as the committee manager for natural resources. Grew up in the DC area, currently a recovering campaign staffer. Very excited to be back here in Nevada working on in the legislature again.
Thank you so much, and so happy to have you back. I'd like at this point for our committee counsel, Jeff Colomay.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff Coulomay, I'm an attorney here in the legal division at LCB. This is my third legislative session, but the first serving this particular committee, and I look forward to the opportunity to be useful here. I came to the Bureau in 2020 out of civil practice in Reno.
And thank you so much. You've already done a lot of hard work preparing for session, and we're very grateful. And right now, we are going to turn it over and I'd love to introduce our committee intern this session. She's been here a few days and already working really hard trying to help us get prepared for the session. Sydney Mitchell, come on up to the witness stand. No pressure.
Hello, my name is Sydney Mitchell. I'm a third-year undergrad at UNLV studying political science, and I'm really excited to be here, my first legislative session, and yeah, it's an honor to work for Senator Pizzina and for all of you guys on this committee.
Thank you so much, and hopefully by the end of this session, you'll be even more prepared for a career in public service and won't try to run like or I guess lessons will be learned, but we look forward to having you hopefully join us many, many sessions after this and sitting behind this dais in the future. And I'd love to, at this point, introduce Mr. Patrick Ashton, who has been by my side for the last few months we've been working very closely getting ready for the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Pizzina. I'm Patrick Ashton. I'm a policy analyst of the Research Division, Legislative Council Bureau. I have staffed various Commerce and Labor and Health and Human Services in committees over the years, but this is the first time in the Senate, and I'm very glad to be in the upper house this session, so looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the staff for everything you do to make everything run as smoothly as possible. We're so grateful for all of your support, and I would be remiss if I didn't also recognize all of the staff behind the scenes here as well, ensuring that our committee meetings and the entire legislature run smoothly on a daily basis. From audio-visual, formerly broadcast, now audio-visual and public hearings, information technology services, our janitorial services, our legislative police, to everyone in the building, we thank you so much for the work that you do. And with that, we are going to move to our adoption of committee rules. They are posted on Nellis, and the work of the committees is governed by the Senate standing rules and the joint standing rules that we adopted on Monday in the full Senate. The proposed committee rules add more details for our committee meetings, such as receiving exhibits in a timely manner, creating an atmosphere of mutual respect, courtesy, and professionalism. And for me personally, as a chair, that's going to be one of the most important rules, that we treat each other civilly, and we run this committee with civility throughout the entirety of the session. Members of the committee, are there any questions regarding the committee rules? Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the committee rules for the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor.
So moved.
Second.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have Vice Chair Daley with the motion, and I believe Senator Steinbeck with the, and Senator Flores with the seconds. Are there any comments or discussion on the motion before we vote? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. The motion carries and the committee is off to an auspicious start. At this point, we're going to move on and have our committee policy analyst, Patrick Ashton, present the committee brief. Mr. Ashton, please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Pizzina. For the record, Patrick Ashton, nonpartisan policy analyst with the Research Division of the Legislative Council Bureau. So I would like to take a few minutes to review certain highlights of the committee brief. You can find an electronic copy of the brief on the legislative website on Nellis. The brief provides background information on the work of the committee and policy issues that you may consider this session. So let's start with page 1 of the brief, which provides you with an overview of the committee staff and the committee activity last session. And I just want to highlight some, sorry, I have a little buzz with the microphone. I apologize about that. I just want, that works too, thank you. So, based on the number of bills referred to the committee, it has consistently been the third busiest committee of the Senate, policy committee of the Senate, after Judiciary and Government Affairs. So last session, the committee considered a total of 62 Senate and 43 Assembly bills and resolutions, which adds up to a total of 105 measures. 88 of these bills were voted out of the committee, and the legislature approved 73 measures. So of these 73 bills, Governor Lombardo vetoed 11 bills during or after session. And on pages 2 and 3 of the committee brief, you can find brief summaries of 6 bills that were vetoed after sine die and that have returned to this legislature. On the bottom of page 3, you find an overview of the committee's jurisdiction pursuant to Rule 40 of Senate Resolution 1 that you and the other senators adopted on Monday. The jurisdiction entails issues related to banks, insurance, labor, workers' comp, manufactured housing, the cannabis industry, occupational licensing, and so on. I want to note that legislative measures with significant fiscal matters may be concurrently referred to this committee and the Senate Committee on Finance. Also, the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor and this committee's jurisdiction are largely the same, but there are some differences. So just to give you an example, bills related to the regulation of the cannabis industry are under purview of this committee, but on the Assembly side, they usually go to Assembly Judiciary. Now, turning to pages 4 and 5 of the committee brief. So for the next 4 months, you can expect hearings about many commerce and labor topics, mainly in this committee, but also in Senate Finance or on the floor or certain other committees. And the brief highlights various policy issues that you will consider this session, including artificial intelligence, cannabis regulation, health insurance and other insurances, occupational and professional licensing, labor, prescription drug costs, and any other general business, employment, and financial and trade practices. In addition to these topics highlighted in the committee brief, you will also hear various presentations from subject matter experts from the Department of Business and Industry, the Cannabis Compliance Board, and the State Contractors Board, to name a few. On pages 5 and 7 of the brief, you will find an overview of relevant audits and reports, such as interim committee bulletins that summarize the work of pertinent committees and studies during the past interim, legislative audits from the LCB Audit Division, and statutory reports from various entities. The electronic version of this brief on Nellis also has various hyperlinks that you can use to access these audits or reports if you like to dig deeper on certain issues. Finally, if you have questions about any of the policy issues outlined in the brief or any other matters, please tell me or other staff from the research division, and we will happily assist you. My colleagues from the research division and I can assist you with bill remarks, background research, speeches, get information from state agencies, and also find information about legislation in other states. And we do this in a nonpartisan, confidential manner, so please reach out to us if any of you needs any assistance. And Chair Pacina and committee members, this concludes my overview of the brief. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashton. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, well, thank you. We really appreciate it. And we have one more presentation today that we're looking forward to, and that is from the Department of Business and Industry. So we'd like to welcome them up. Director Sanchez, feel free to introduce yourself and your co-presenters, and please begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Chris Sanchez for the record, Director of Department of Business and Industry. I'm here with Marcel and Perry, our deputy directors here at the agency, as well as Nikki, who will be joining us here to talk about some of the board reform that we are doing. It's good to see all of you, and it's a special privilege to be up first as you start this session. We'll dive right in, and just a note, our slides are quite lengthy. We know we have about 20 minutes. We wanted to provide a lot of background and material for all of you, so we'll just hit the highlights, and all of our administrators from our 12 divisions are available. They are here and in the down south, and if there's any specific questions, they will be able to come up to the mic here and answer those. As mentioned, we are a department comprised of 12 independent regulatory agencies. We have about 61 boards and commissions, 37 occupational boards, which migrated over to business and industry with the passage of SB 431 in the 23 session. We have about 773 staff at business and industry. Offices located throughout the state, and we issue licenses and permits to just under 603,000 Nevadans. If you look at our consumer affairs unit, the number of inquiries that we receive at business and industry, it's safe to say that we touch about almost 1 million Nevadans annually. And so if you're looking at households, almost every household is impacted by what we do at business and industry. Our department priorities coming in, I'm still learning. I've been on the job at business and industry for about a year. It's a very complex agency. There's a lot that the agency does. I'm fortunate to have an amazing team of administrators that really know their subjects well and competent staff. So we were blessed with that. One of the things that I'm working on that you'll hear more about as the session progresses is investing in business and industry to what I call right-size the agency. We are an agency, as I mentioned, with 775 employees, but we do not have any HR, for instance. And so although not the focus of this specific briefing, one of the things that I am looking at is breaking down internal silos, breaking down barriers to better efficiency, getting the agency dialed in so that it can be as efficient and responsive to our constituents as possible. And so you'll hear more about that. And that really kind of dovetails nicely with what we are responsible for in the director's office, which is the back-end administrative functions for those 12 independent agencies. As you probably have heard, and we have provided some information on the boards and commissions restructuring, that is a major initiative that we are undertaking, and we spent the better part of the last 8 months doing a deep dive into boards and commissions, occupational licensing, Title 54 boards, and advisory boards in the state. And we're happy to answer any questions about that, but quite a nuanced proposal. But the idea is to get to better accountability, better efficiency, and ultimately, over time, over the next biennium, reduce licensing fees for all of our constituents in Nevada. I'm on slide 5, just as anybody following along. But we basically have 4 functions at the department. They fall into these 4 categories is the best way to think about it. And both Perry and Marcel and Nikki will dive in and give more information on each of the buckets. But we have commerce and capital regulation, community development, labor and workforce protection, consumer protection, and advocacy. And of course, our 12 agencies kind of break into those functions. You'll see on slide 6 a breakdown of the funding for the department. We are a majority fee-based agency. For fiscal year 26, we have 3.4% general fund, and fiscal year 27, about 8.9% general fund. So the majority of what we do, as vast as we are, is funded through those fees. And we are working to be very expeditious with all the funds that we receive, whether they are general fund or whether they are through our licensing fees. It's important to me as the director to make sure that we are efficient, that we are using every dollar, no matter where it originates from, as best as we can, and maximizing that dollar for our constituents across the state. On slide 7 is the breakdown of the general fund allocation, that percentages that I mentioned just a minute ago. You'll see the director's Department of Business and Industry, which essentially is the director's office functions that we provide, as I mentioned, in the administrative capacity. That works through our cost allocation. We cost allocate the expenses for the director's office and the services we provide to the various regulatory agencies. And so a portion of those agencies, as listed here, Housing Division, Real Estate, and Labor, are general funded. So a portion of the director's budget, department budget, comes out of those agencies, which is why the department is listed here on the list. Boards and commissions, there's 2 positions reflected here on this chart. The first one is $344,000 in FY26. You'll see that FY27 is zeroed out. That is based on an assumption that a version of SB 78 will make it through this legislative session. Right now, Nikki Haig, who is our Division Director of Boards, Commissions, Council, and Standards, she is general funded, but we fully intend to move her salary over to the funds that we will cost allocate from the boards and commissions that we are pursuing in SB 78. We have the Housing Division, Real Estate, and Labor, as I mentioned, which are also general fund agencies. For this committee, one of the bills that you will see come before you relates to our Mortgage Lending Division, and that's SB 444. I'm not going to spend too much time going into that, but we do have our folks here from the Mortgage Lending Division, and we can talk about that as we go through the briefing. Just to get into a little more detail about the Director's Office on slide 9, as I mentioned, we provide centralized administrative functions, regulatory review, fiscal and budget administration, assessments, payroll, human resources, and IT. Much of what I'm proposing in our enhancements for this session is to consolidate many of those functions, reduce silos, and be able to look whole agency as opposed to individual departments so that we can get to better efficiency and better outcomes. We are a resource for small businesses across Nevada, and Marcel will share more about what we do with support of small businesses. We are consumer protection, business registration and enforcement, and deceptive trade practices is an area that we focus on through our Consumer Affairs Division. Folks will call in, and unfortunately, they may have an issue with a service that they sought and need help, and so we have a team of case managers that will find out what happened and will work with that constituent to find the appropriate remedy, and that may be through the courts and maybe through a different adjudication process. Whatever the process may be to help that constituent, we have a team of individuals that will open those cases and do that. And we have an ombudsman for minority affairs, and that individual is out in the community 90% of her time, making sure that we are very closely paying attention to what's going on in all of our communities, and that information comes back and is shared with our agency and our regulatory agencies. On slide number 10, we have the Director's Office oversees the New Market Jobs Act. The best way to think about this is that insurance companies receive a tax credit for their Nevada insurance premium tax. Those funds, then the insurance industry can invest in a CDE, which is a community development entity. The community development entity then can help small businesses that are in our most at-risk communities across the state by getting them better favorable loan terms so that they can invest and grow their businesses. To date, since 2013, when the program was founded, we have helped 60 businesses set up shop and hire individuals in our most at-risk communities across the state. This program is functioning well, and we have our experts here as well for questions if there are any on that program. The other one that we administer through the Director's Office is the Industrial Revenue Development Bonds. These bonds are tied into our economic development strategy for the state. The idea is that we are intending to use them for industrial facilities, research and development facilities, commercial and civic and cultural enterprises, accredited education institutions, and healthcare facilities. The largest project that you're probably familiar with is Brightline, which was the last one that was funded for about $625 million in bond capacity. That project is doing well. As you know, they had their groundbreaking late last year. They are working with their contractors, and the project is moving. So stay tuned. You'll see more activity in Southern Nevada around that project. California's portion of bonds was about $1.2 billion. And again, Nevada's was about $625 million. And moving on to slide 12, I'd like to turn it over to Marcel Schur, our Deputy Director for Business and Industry.
Madam Chair, Senators, for the record, my name is Marcel Scherer. And what you have in front of you on slide 12 is basically what we call business help and advocacy. So we connect, educate, innovate, and provide resources through the Nevada Business Resource Hub. The hub is a convenient one-stop place to access information, resources, and tools that can help business owners and entrepreneurs. It contains the roadmap, and that's what the visual that you see over there. And this ecosystem chart is a way in which provides a high-level view orientation of doing business in Nevada. It highlights federal, state, local government resources. And of course, our dear roadmap, which is a guide to starting and growing a business in Nevada with over 400 links. So when it comes to business development, anything and everything related to starting a business is there, and we strive again to be that source of information through this hub. Next on the slide is what we call consumer help, consumer and minority help advocacy. And we do that through, as the director has mentioned, the Nevada Consumer Affairs, which focuses on deceptive practices and fraud. As you can see there on your left, we have recovered over $1 million for consumers in 2024, and there was a total of 3,500 complaints coming through that office. We also have the Ombudsman of Consumer Affairs for Minorities. Marianne Hickerson is out there in the community and, of course, providing education, outreach, and service programs. She hosts a radio show every week and is actively involved, as you can see there, through the numbers in the community. And lastly, under this umbrella of consumer help, we have the Minority Affairs, or the Nevada Commission on Minority Affairs, and that provides a voice to minority communities throughout the state.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Senators. My name is Nikki Haig. I am the Deputy Director over the Office of Boards, Commissions, and Council Standards. We license 267,600 licensees through the state through the occupational and licensing boards. The office was established with Senate Bill 431 during the 2023 legislative session. The law gives the office the purview over 37 of the professional, occupational, and licensing boards to establish centralized administration, uniform standards, uphold transparency, consumer protection, and ensure efficacy and efficiency. However, in SB 431 did not provide the necessary funding or the staff to fully support these efforts. As a result, SB 78 is what we will be bringing in to the legislative session this year to enhance and increase the board commission's accountability and transparency, enhance operations and reduce redundancy, and reduce administrative costs and the burdens to the licensees. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Perry Fagan, and I am the Deputy Director with Business and Industry here in the Northern Nevada area, and I would like to take you through some of the divisions within our department. We'll start this morning with the Division of Industrial Relations. Industrial Relations is the division that assists with workplace safety and worker protections in the state of Nevada and throughout. We have several sections within the division that work in these capacities. Mechanical compliance, which regulates all of the elevators throughout the state, escalators, boilers, pressure vessels, mine safety training, which is out operating in the mining communities, educating miners throughout the state and as well as throughout the country, and sometimes on occasion throughout the world, where they will check into our training and be trained throughout the world as well. In many cases, we also go out and we look at all the mines throughout the state, try to accomplish that in a year if we can. Then we have OSHA, which conducts targeted inspections on workplaces throughout the state as well to make sure that they enforce safety standards. And they also go out on things like accidents and unfortunately at times on fatalities as well within the workplace and the work communities as well. SCATS, which is our Safety Consultation and Training section, operates free services to the entire state and businesses that wish to come in and get training with regard to safety, putting together safety programs for your offices and your businesses throughout the state. They offer these services free of charge. They do great work. I've referred them many times to people throughout the state and businesses that I know and people that talk to me. They do a fantastic job, as well as offering training on OSHA 10, OSHA 30, And then we also have workers' compensation section, which is where people are able to make their claims for workers' compensation, and then we are able to review those and make sure that the insurance companies are hopefully moving forward as they need to be doing. Licensing and permits, which is something that we've talked about a lot, about the 600,000 plus that we do. The licensing and permits for this particular industry, while they are not huge, they do take care of the mechanical side of things, from licensing and permitting the elevator operators, and making sure that the objects are properly licensed there, as well as the people that are out doing the work and inspecting on those. And then also photovoltaic, which is your solar installers, and asbestos removal as well. So very important to kind of understand some of the things that are going on there. These are just some of the numbers regarding what they are doing on an annual basis, and you can see that the larger we get in the state, the more opportunity there is to be out doing the work that we need to be doing, and it is a lot of work, and so we appreciate the efforts that this division does as it moves forward. Moving on to the housing division. The housing division licenses and permits about 653 individuals and businesses. This is primarily through the manufactured housing division section within the housing division. And they do some fantastic work, as many of you already know, in working with our administrator, Steve Acroth. One of the things that's important to note is that the division currently is working through about, I believe it's close to $1 billion over the last several years through ARPA funding in the Home Means Nevada initiative. And so they are, I believe, a little over 25% through those monies and getting those moving in the right direction and spent. And then also there's a little asterisk at the bottom regarding the general fund. And it's important to note that primarily this agency is a fee-funded agency. And we also operate through a lot of the federal programs and the federal grants that come through, and the monies that come through from the federal side of things to turn around and take care of a lot of the affordable housing projects and programs that we do. Very little of the funding that we get, and it operates through the general fund, and that is strictly as a result of the supportive housing development that we're doing, and Windsor Park, which many of you are also familiar with that project.
Marcel Scherer for the record. Then we get into the Taxi Cab Authority, which happens to be in Clark County and is the regulatory agency charged with oversight of the taxi industry to ensure the safety, welfare, and convenience of the public. As you can see, the key functions are driving permitting, vehicle inspection, enforcement routine. And the challenges, basically, you can see on the right of your page, is basically the chart that represents some of the challenges. The annual number of rides have gone flat, and the future represents a lot of competition for ride volumes, which will impact agency revenue. The next slide is the Nevada Transportation Authority. The NTA, what we call, regulates the transportation industry, which includes charter buses, limos, movers, tow cars, tour buses, non-emergency medical transportation, employer van pools, airport, transfer services, special services, warehouse permits, transportation network company, the TNC, and autonomous vehicles statewide, as well as the taxis outside Clark County. As you can see also, current activities includes, permits, applications, administrative and enforcement hearings, inspections of existing carriers, and enforcement of Nevada laws. The challenges, of course, again, 3 of them: outdated, inadequate technology. We also have incidents of illegal transportation operators, and the significant regulatory gap in rural areas in Nevada. Thank you.
Perry Fagan again for the record. Moving on to the Division of Insurance. The Division of Insurance licenses over 265,000 companies and individuals, domestic carriers throughout the state of Nevada. And the insurance division protects our consumers and ensures solvency with these companies, and it regulates a $25 billion insurance industry for the state. There are certainly a lot of challenges, as we all know, with regard to insurance, with regard to auto insurance, rates increasing, wildfires, et cetera. And we look forward to working with the entire legislature over this session to try to address some of those issues and see where we can go with that. They also, it's important to note too that there's about $600 million plus in insurance tax, premium tax that comes into the general fund as a result of the work that the division does. Moving on to the mortgage lending division. Mortgage lending licenses companies and individuals that do mortgage lending work, as well as escrow companies. As you can see, the breakout in the numbers of licenses there, the majority of that is through mortgage loan originators throughout the state, and some of those that work out of the state from the standpoint of doing work and have the ability to work through other companies, larger companies. But the mortgage lending division has seen some right sizing with regard to those numbers over the last few years as a result of coming out of COVID and moving on with the industry. They are doing a fabulous job over there, and mortgage lending is kind of near and dear to my heart as prior to what I used to do in the private sector before. But some of the challenges that they are looking at are some of the tech-driven things and the data security cyber attacks and many of the potential federal policy changes that are coming down. As a result of that, you will be seeing before you SB 44, which is going to be dealing with taking the federal regulations and allowing the state to have the authority to work through those federal regulations and assist in the data security issues and some of those concerns that we're starting to see that are arising throughout the entire U.S. right now. Moving on to the Financial Institutions Division. Financial Institutions licenses Nevada institutions to sustain a safe, sound, and compliant financial environment. They license just under 2,000 businesses. These are depository, non-depository, and fiduciary licensees. They do annual examinations on many of these companies, and they provide investigative services to make sure that possible violations are being dealt with and where they can take disciplinary action. In the current biennium, as you can see here, they've had 418 complaints with 196 investigations. This is an extremely complicated work that they do, and it's important to note here that the staff that works within these folks, the financial examiners, this is something that takes years to train for. It's not an easy process. It's not something that can be done quickly. And so there's a lot of training that goes into this, and it's certainly an issue for us from the standpoint of hiring and retention, because they are definitely being swiped up just as soon as we can get them trained and moving on.
Chris Sanchez, for the record, I just wanted to kind of build on that. One of the things you'll see is an enhancement in our budget for staff in this area, specifically as it pertains to new technology, crypto, blockchain, and AI. As a regulator, we need to make sure that we're current with where the industry is going, and we have to build capacity within the agency, and we do not have folks that have an expertise in those areas. And so we're intending to robust up, if you will, that staff to be able to address those areas when they go out and do their auditing. The title, the job title for an individual with that background does not exist in state service. So we've kind of put it under an IT umbrella because it's looking at issues that are kind of in the orbit of IT. But the intent there is to have specialists in these new and emerging technologies and their application in the financial services industry. Thank you.
Perry Fagan again for the record. Moving on to the Office of Labor Commissioner. Office of Labor Commissioner licenses and permits 346 different companies. And one of the things that you can see here that I just want to touch on briefly with regard, there's a lot of information here with regard to the statutes, the regulations that they oversee. But as you can see, since 2021, there's been a significant increase in wage claims. And so this is something that we're working on within this agency to make sure that we can handle that. And it's one of the reasons why you'll probably see some enhancements coming through with regard to staffing as we try to make sure that we can continue to stay up with these continuing wage claim problems that we're seeing out there. Also, too, another item on here that some of you are probably familiar with in this committee is the apprenticeship reporting, AUA. And those numbers are just starting to roll in now, and so hopefully we'll be able to see some of those moving forward for you, as I know some of you are very interested in what that's going to be looking like. But that's something that's been new, and it's come in now, so thank you for that. All right, moving on to the real estate division. Another division near and dear to my heart, licensing right now close to 41,000 companies and brokers and individuals. This is licensing through property managers and timeshares and real estate agents and brokers. As you probably know, this is a very large community within our state, and they regulate this community as well as license them. And then also too, they have the Ombudsman's Office for Common Interest Communities, HOAs. That's a massive undertaking as well, with registered associations up over 3,500 and total units over 600,000. And so this is a very complicated division with lots of different things that we need to work through. You know, this is a general funded agency throughout most of it, and we appreciate being able to talk about that. And they also deal with a lot of the educational aspects of this in making sure that these folks are properly educated, that they're compliant with within the realm of the real estate world.
Chris Sanchez for the record. Next, we have the Government Employee Management Relations Board. They are the administrative court resolving disputes between local governments and their employee organizations. Serve about 212 local state entities, 157 employee organizations, 5 labor organizations in the state, and about 17,000 state government employees and 88,000 local government employees with 271 bargaining units. A small team at EMRB and their board, but they do an amazing job. And they, as you can see with their 2006 budget, it's about 900 million and, or excuse me, 900,000, and fiscal year 2007, about 894,000.
Madam Chair, Senators, Marcel Scherer for the record, and last but not least is the Nevada Attorney for Injured Workers. They represent injured workers claiming rights under the Nevada Industrial Insurance Act. The services that they provide are at no cost. They represent the claimant on appeals. The agency also provides procedural advice and general information about the workers' compensation system to the public. And the current activities that you can see, they represented our injured workers in over 937 cases during the fiscal year 24. And also information calls from the public are over 1,300 phone calls. So, thank you.
Chris Sanchez for the record. That concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions, and like I mentioned at the beginning, we have all our administrators here as well. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the committee? I have a, okay. Assistant Majority Leader?
My question was, you mentioned about new staff and AI and tech and stuff. Is that going to come out of your existing budget, or are you asking for more funds?
Chris Sanchez for the record. We're asking for additional funding for those positions.
And do you know what that would be? And what is that, what bill? I mean, you listed three, oh, sorry, you listed 3 bills, I think, that you're bringing forward. Is it encompassed in one of those bills?
Chris Sanchez for the record. We'll follow up with the exact amounts for those salary requests that we have. And then the second part of the question was with respect to what vehicle that was in. That was in the GovRec in the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Steinbeck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Sanchez, you mentioned reducing licensing fees was a goal of your division. Can you expand on that? Is that all through SB 78, or do you have other avenues to do that?
Thank you, Senator. So yes, it will be through the reform that we are proposing with SB 78. I have to say that that was not one of our initial goals, but it actually is a byproduct of better efficiency and better government, frankly. We have right now about 250 contracted full-time and part-time staff that our occupational licensing Title 54 boards employ. With our proposal, we will have about 60 staff that will be at business and industry. That 250 staff, full-time, contracted, and part-time, are about 38 million annually. With the proposal that we are making, those costs will be reduced to 19 million, but it's something that's really important to recognize here is that we do not intend to be laying a lot of folks off. We will migrate folks over to business and industry. Keep in mind that that 38 million that I mentioned is all in for all the administrative costs. So right now we have 37 websites. We have a lot of duplication in the services on the back end. By consolidating all of that and getting rid of the duplication and getting to better efficiency, we can reduce the overall cost. With our proposal, we have merged boards. We have seasoned staff in our occupational licensing boards that have been around a long time. They are experts in their industry. We want to retain that staff. They will be able to be employed by the new merged boards. All the authorities for that hiring will move from the individual boards to the merged boards so that we can retain those folks and then bring in many of them, like I mentioned, about 60 into business and industry. We'll also be working with the Department of Employment Training and Rehabilitation. As you know, the state has a lot of vacancies, and we want to make sure that for folks that may choose not to come over to BNI or may not want to work in the merge boards, that there are other opportunities in the state, so we can kind of have a handoff to Dieter in working with our department administration with our assistance in finding positions for those individuals.
Thank you. Follow-up question? Thank you. So with that, and that's great, reduced fees would be amazing, but do you anticipate any extended times in getting licenses then because of that?
Chris Sanchez for the record. Thank you. One of the things that we are acutely aware of is that many of our boards are operating very efficiently. Not all boards, unfortunately. One of the things is with the merge board implementation, if that structure is to pass the legislature, is that we are not going to be in a hurry to do it. We want to get it right. And so we envision over the next biennium creating the merge boards. In doing so, we will make sure that as we migrate to that new model, that the operational efficiency of the boards is maintained and that there are no delays. You know, the last thing that I want to do is impact the folks that are out with their shingle trying to do their job. And we will be expedient in that. We will be very thoughtful and strategic. We intend to bring the merge boards, those boards we intend to merge, I should say, into the conference room, so to speak, and map out what that will look like, what their current structure is, how they operate, and do that very, very carefully and thoughtfully.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Assistant Majority Leader.
Thanks. I just want to follow up because you mentioned that you are going to be saving some money because of your reorganization. And is this on? And I'm just wondering what are you going to use that savings on?
Chris Sanchez for the record. So the savings are actually to the licensees. They're not to the state. These are funds right now that exist outside of the state state system. We intend to cost allocate the cost of the administrative functions to the various boards. So right now we have 37 occupational boards. The new framework that we have created will take us down to 17. We are not eliminating licenses though. We are just simply eliminating boards and bringing them into a merged framework. They will still have the authority to collect those funds. Those funds will reside with those merged boards. They will not come into the Department of Business and Industry. We are essentially charging a fee for our services is what we are doing. Just like we do with our 12 regulatory agencies, this framework is not new. This is something we've been doing since 1993 with the creation of the Department of Business and Industry, the Department of Administration, our Governor's Finance Office. Everybody's very familiar with this framework. It will be new for the boards. We do understand that. So the cost savings over time, what we envision over the biennium is that once we get this fully operational and stood up, instead of building large surpluses in those merged boards, ideally we would be able to reduce licensing fees as we get operational.
Okay, thank you. And I just have one more question. So about the merged boards, are you prepared to give us, I'd like to see the merged boards.
Chris Sanchez for the record. Yes, so we have a pretty extensive policy paper. We'll make sure that you receive that. It outlines the merge boards that we are proposing. It also outlines historic references to kind of how we're looking at boards and why we're pursuing this at this time in Nevada's history. And we also highlight the states that we've looked at. In each case in our merged boards, we're not the first state to venture into this, these merged boards in this framework. There are many states that have already done this. We have talked to dozens of states. We've sought to understand what's worked well, what hasn't. Referencing my earlier statement, we want to do this very, very thoughtfully. To be frank, I don't want to break anything. I just want to enhance it, make it work better. But certainly, we'll provide you with that policy paper that outlines those boards mergers. And I'm available. My team's available for any questions that you may have. Because this is the first time, literally since 1976, that we have talked about board reform in any strategic, real effort in the state, and so we know that there's lots of questions. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. And we've been discussing SB 78 a great deal. And for those of you on the committee who are interested, and I believe we have the chair and members of Government Affairs sitting on this committee, that has been referred to Government Affairs. So for those of you interested, I'd advise you to definitely watch those hearings and to request that policy paper. I did have one question. It was mentioned earlier that some of the funding comes in from the federal government, and I was curious if some of those grants might be affected by the current administration.
Perry Fagan for the record. Thank you, Senator Pezina, Chair. The majority, we have several divisions that might be affected by that, the majority of which I believe is with the Housing Division. Steve Acroft, phone a friend. You want to come up and talk about that a little bit?
Good morning, Chair Pezina, Steve Acroft, Administrator of the Nevada Housing Division for the record. We do receive federal funding, specifically home funds, housing trust funds, and emergency solutions grants. Those are our annual allocations from the federal government. At this point, we do not anticipate those disappearing, but it's still up in the air. So we're not 100% sure. Those are, just for context, the home funds are roughly $3 million a year. ESG, Emergency Solution Grants, is about $400,000 a year, and the Housing Trust Fund historically has also been about $3 million a year. So it's not a lot of funding, but it is important funding in what we do.
Thank you so much. I was just curious because not as much comes from the general fund, and granted it is fee-based for a lot of the funding that comes in, but how money might be made up from federal funds if they do disappear. So please keep us updated if there are any changes to that, and thank you very much. Do we have any other questions from the committee? Assistant Majority Leader and then Senator Steinbeck afterwards.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if you have a contingency plan in case those monies disappear.
Steve Acroft for the record. At this point, no, to be very candid with you. We are working with the National Council of State Housing Finance Agencies and working with other states collaboratively, if you will. It's all fresh, obviously. It's 2 weeks since we've heard about this. So you know, as folks develop programs, as other states deal with this, as we see it on a federal level, we will be able to hopefully come up with some contingency plans to do that. But at this point, no, we don't.
Great, thank you. And those are things that we're very concerned about. And as Senator Pazina said, we look forward to you keeping us updated on that.
Thank you so much, Senator Steinbeck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Steinbeck, for the record, Deputy Director Fagan, he mentioned that you've expended 25% of ARPA funding. What is the expectation on the other 75%, and do you expect to be able to utilize all of that funding?
Thank you for the question, Steve Across, for the record. It's actually a little bit higher than that, if I'm not mistaken. We're in the 30 to 40% expenditure rate, and the expenditure date of December 31st, 2026, well within where we expect to be. So as far as expending all the funding that we're getting through the Home Means Nevada initiative.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Senator Ellison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I enjoyed your presentation. A lot of information to follow up on, and my thing fell apart. So what I would like to do, if I could, is if you do hear any changes, I'd ask if you'd please come back to the committee and give us an update, because I think this is so important what we're going to do with the budgets throughout the whole state.
Chris Sanchez, for the record, absolutely, Senator, we will. We'll update staff and we'll come before the committee.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Seeing no further questions, I'd like to thank you so much for the presentation, Director, to the staff. We really appreciate it. I think it's so important that we ensure the entire committee is educated on everything that we'll be discussing throughout the session, and we really appreciated your time and the very thorough presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Pacina.
And that moves us into public comments. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person, by phone, or submit written public comment to the committee's email. Instructions for providing public comment can always be found on the agenda, including the call-in information. And we look forward to hearing your comments. We ask that you keep your comments brief and please avoid repetition of comments made by previous speakers. Due to time constraints, we may have to move on to the next person who wants to provide public comment. And in such a case, we always ask that you provide your public comment to us in writing so that we can ensure everything has been posted on Nellis, and that can go to the committee's email address. Finally, we ask that you clearly state and spell your name for the record. And right now, we'll go ahead and begin with public comment for those in our physical locations. So let's start in Carson City. Please join us at the table if you'd like to make public comment. I don't see anyone running to the front, so I'm going to look to our meeting room in Las Vegas and see if anyone in Las Vegas would like to make public comment. Doesn't look like we're very popular on the public comment front today in person, but let's see if we fare better over the phones. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phones?
Thank you, Chair. Your public line is open and working, but you have no callers at this time.
And our record remains intact. We remain unpopular with public comment today. With that, we will close public comments. Are there any further comments from members of the committee before we adjourn? Okay, seeing nothing. This concludes our meeting, and we will meet again on Friday, February the 7th at 8 a.m. Thank you so much, everyone.